How's it going, YouTube? Got FourthStarTCG here, and today we're going to talk about this. The Collector Charizard from the Pokemon Regional Championships in Hartford, the Collectors event that was held there. This has been quite the topic of discussion in the Pokemon community recently, so I'm just going to give you guys some information on the card, some background about the event, and the way that the card was distributed, and also talk a little bit about what some of the detractors of this card are saying and why they're flat out wrong. So this video is really only going to include confirmed information. There's going to be no speculation. All of this is as factual as possible. So one of the questions that, of course, you're going to be asking, how do I know this stuff? Well, I was present at the event, as you can tell from my owning of the card. I've also spoken directly to the event organizers about the process of getting approval for and the distribution of the card. So all of this stuff has been run by them. So just declaring my interest, of course, I own one copy of the card, but I really have no intentions of selling it. The card means way too much to me, and I think it's one of the coolest recent Pokemon cards to be printed. So what is the card? Well, it's a Dragon Majesty Charizard. There's nothing special about the base card. It's not a promo, but it features a gold collector stamp along the bottom of the card right there. And where was the card distributed? As I mentioned earlier, it was distributed to full attendees of the first ever Pokemon Card Collectors event at the Hartford Regional Championships. So the full ticket cost $86.50. You could buy that online before the event, or you could buy it in person at the event. And the event ran from May 3rd through the 5th, 2019. Every full ticket attendee received a copy of the Collector Charizard, but some copies were handed out for free at random. The full ticket was not advertised as including the card. It was a thank you afterwards. It was sent basically sort of as a free gift for attending the event as a thank you. You needed to be physically present at the event in order to receive the card. You had to or at least have a body there, because the way that the card was distributed was when you signed in, when you show them your ticket, you had to write down your address and provide that to the event organizer so that they could ship the card to you after the event was over. You were not permitted to buy full tickets online, not attend the event, and receive a card. So as I mentioned, you had to have a body there in order to receive the card. Some people brought their friends, they bought VIP tickets for them, and that's how some people have multiple copies of the card. Another important question, how many were produced and distributed? While more cards were requested from the stamping company than were actually distributed, errors in the stamping process mean that a small percentage of the cards that were requested were incorrectly stamped, and their stamps basically had failed. And all the cards that were produced were distributed, with an estimate of 400 cards in existence today. All of the copies of the card they have a little bit of edge wear and dings on them, just because of the stamping process, but PSA is not grading the cards right away. But nobody's got a brick of them in their basement to flood the market, and nobody has one that wasn't obtained through the process of the event. So the only way that you have this card is if you were there at the event, or you had someone at the event for you in order to put your address down. So just a little bit of information about the event itself. I talked so much about the event, I should probably tell you what happened there. I have a video recap / vlog that you can watch. It's the last video on my channel. It'll also be in the card in the top corner. You can go and watch that. You can see what happened at the event, but I'll just give a quick overview here. It was 100% directed towards Pokemon card collectors, and it featured collector-specific vendors like TCA Gaming, the Fossil Group, Ludkin's Collectibles, and even more. It had an open play and trading area, a mini museum of rare, extremely rare cards, stuff like first edition base set Charizard, PSA 10, first edition sealed base set booster box. That was really cool. Trophy Pikas, it was an amazing thing. And it also featured a VIP area for those who purchased full tickets to just sort of relax, hang out, chill with their friends. They also had some video games there, Smash, which was fun to play. And it was the first event that was really specifically directed towards collectors that's been held in conjunction with a Pokemon sanctioned event, which is the Regional Championships at Hartford. And this is a huge deal for collectors, as it's really the first time that Pokemon has tacitly or in some way recognized the value of collectors and higher end collectors as a large enough base to sustain events. Now, we don't know if anything is going to be happening in the future similar to this, but given the success of this event, it's certainly a possibility. Another thing I want to talk about is sort of the spectrum of uniqueness and the gray areas with this card, which has been causing a lot of discussion in the community lately. This card really occupies a unique position within Pokemon cards, given the nature of the event, which has led some really uninformed people to say that the card is, fan-made, or question its legitimacy as a real card. So there are a lot of issues with this argument, and I'm going to unpack them now. So saying the card is fan-made is flat out wrong. But the card does have a fundamentally different release than any other Pokemon card that you've probably ever encountered. These misunderstandings that people have about the release of the card, they're likely due to a difficult to understand process of event organization and approval, and the nature of the Pokemon Company in general as a sort of collection of disparate groups coming together. You've got stuff like the Pokemon Company International, Pokemon Organized Play, Game Freak Creatures who do the games, Nintendo. It's very jumbled. So what was the process for the card like? Why do people think that this is fan-made or not real? So these misunderstandings usually hinge on the idea that this was not a sort of Pokemon Company driven event. While the event and card were tacitly approved to exist by Pokemon, neither the Pokemon Company nor Pokemon Organized Play were the impetus for this event. They didn't say, we want a collector's event. Event organizers were collectors. They were people who said, this is something we want, this is something we want to have, and they worked with Pokemon and Organized Play in order to make it happen. They weren't employees of the Pokemon Company. They're collectors who wanted to increase the visibility of collectors as a whole. And the card was requested by the event organizers, and the process of getting the card stamped and acquiring the card, sending it in for the stamping process and the distribution post-event, these were all handled by the event organizers who, as I mentioned before, they're not employees of Pokemon, they're collectors just like us who wanted to make this happen. But even so, Pokemon provided the event organizers with the ability to utilize the same stamping process used for all other stamped promotional cards. The card would not exist without the fans that pushed for the card to exist, that pushed for the event, that pushed for the release and the distribution, and handled all of the logistics of making sure that it worked as a distribution, as a stamped promotional card. But it also would not exist without assistance from areas of Pokemon. Pokemon had to provide the information for the stamping process. But you're never going to see Pokemon promote this card, list in a checklist, or acknowledge that it exists in any way, shape, or form. But you'll also never hear the same thing about Staff Shellos. You'll never hear the same thing about Ishihara GX. I guarantee you're never going to hear anything from Pokemon about the FPO, the 4-position only cards produced back in the E-Series. Now, are those any less real, or are they fan-made? Well, of course not. Now, of course, you can decide on your own whether this is something that you want to collect. But to quote S.M. Pratt, Rarity and the market doesn't care about your feelings. If you can think it's the fakest card ever, but it doesn't matter if people are paying, $750 to $1,000 for it. The card really exists in a gray area, and believing it's only one thing or it's only another are the only fully wrong things you can do. Believing it's a fan-made card on the level of, the luxury ancient Charizard, or believing this card was released in booster packs, those are the only wrong things you can do. Now, just to talk about my personal thoughts on the card, it's not only a reminder of an amazing event, but it's an acknowledgement and a reinforcement of what I do as a collector. Now, of course, I don't need a gold stamp Charizard to tell me that I'm a serious collector, but it sure as hell is an amazing thing to own, and I think it's really, really fitting to have a gold stamped Charizard with a collector printed on it in your collection. So thank you all for watching. I hope I was able to answer any questions you may have about the Collector Charizard. If you have any more questions, feel free to post in the comment section below. You can also head on over to E4, the Elite Forum, and ask questions there. We've got a spirited discussion going on about this card. So thanks again. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stick around for more videos.